This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Live radio. I was talking to Tom just as we were coming on, and I said, I was reminiscing about Alex, who was our producer previously, and I said, you know, I don't know why. I don't know why they give me so many controls, buttons, and dials. It's too many. It's too many. More than I can handle. And that's when I messed up because I forgot to push one. And everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed. Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Am I ever blissed today?
Dr. Shealy, I was thinking about last Thursday, and I was telling Tom, our producer, that you invited me to be on your afternoon show, and we talked about Fukushima and some really serious stuff. And the way your broadcast works is you introduce yourself, and then right then and there, you know, you can be on the air, and call after call after call comes in. And I mentioned that, you know, I've seen you take 21 calls and even more in an hour and talking about medicine and dispensing advice and counsel. And you and I were on for the first 20 minutes last Thursday, and all the calls stopped.
Actually, we caught up really. They came in really fast after that.
So I wanted to apologize. I think it's something I must have said because you know the calls are there. I remember being in the studio with you in Springfield when you started your broadcast, and the calls. 10 minutes before you were going on the air, the callers were stacking up. You know, you weren't on the air. You didn't give out the number. It was the previous broadcast, and the calls are coming in for you. I've never seen anything like it. But I wanted to apologize.
A long time.
But I wanted to apologize for whatever I did.
No. It was a wonderful introduction to the show. We should do it again.
I wanted to make it quick. I wanted to get off within 20 minutes because I thought that the senior management would be there saying, Norm, what are you doing? You know who that guy is that's on the air with you? So anyway, if you want, we can, but I don't want you to get in trouble for being on the air with me. Class is a link to all of your instructors on the website, usaprepares.com, and podcasts right here are free. Just go to usaprepares.com. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. Dr. Shealy, I have a whole bunch of things that I want to talk about, but one thing that's really starting to bother me is all over the country. Police, now these are local police, local cops, state police, they are ganging up on individuals and beating the tar out of them. And here's what I mean. There's an article on the website, usaprepares.com. And this woman, a 44-year-old woman, was pulled over for DUI. And on video, the video shows 4 police officers. I mean, it's 4 against 1. This 44-year-old, 5'6", 130-pound woman is slammed against the police car, slammed to the ground, face against the pavement, bloody nose, huge black eye, broken cheek, 4 against 1. And are these men? When I was, Dr. Shealy, when I was in grammar school, I was told by my parents, you never hit a girl. You never hit a girl. It's never done. Don't even think about it. And these are bully cops beating up on this woman. It's on the website right now. And here's what I'm asking you: is this a gang mentality where one guy shows aggression and everybody else has to amp up their testosterone and they've got to join in and pummel? What? Dr.
Well,
Shealy,
it is psychopathic behavior. Period.
Okay.
End of report.
Well,
You know, a psychopath by any other name is still a psychopath. I realize that the American psychiatric people don't even use the word anymore, but it sounds more like what it really is than sociopath. Sociopath is too kind for bastards like that.
Dr. Shealy, I've been toying with using this word to describe politicians and people who do these kinds of things, and the word that keeps coming to the fore of my mind is pathogen. These guys are pathogen. Pathogen.
Oh, well, yeah, they're like AIDS virus.
Right, and
That's a pathogen, yes.
Right, and these pathogens, I'm talking about politicians, infect us with diseases that hurt us.
Yep.
And these cops are absolutely out of control. Now, this woman that I'm talking about, okay, let's say she was absolutely, positively guilty of a DUI. They handcuffed her behind her back. After they slammed her into the police car face first, after they slammed her down on the pavement face first, after they handcuffed her, then she's arrested. But it takes four of these guys. What I think, Dr. Shealy, what I think we should do with police officers who abuse their authority, who have this kind of behavior, should be every one of them. Now, if there are four of them, let's say only one of them was involved in this brutality. Every one of them should be arrested, jailed, suspended without pay, tried, and when found guilty, executed in the public square by hanging for the egregious violations of the public trust.
Vince, I agree, and I think that it would be more effective to cane holy hell out of them in public square.
Well, if you're talking about caning until dead, I would absolutely agree.
No, I honestly think they need to learn in this life. They don't deserve to get out that quickly. They need to bear the brunt of their brutality for the rest of their life with the marks of the canes. And well, anyway, we both agree they're wrong.
Yeah, it's out of control, and I think. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about electromagnetic radiation for a few minutes. And I was having breakfast this morning, and I was thinking, now I don't carry a cell phone around with me. People call me and tell me that they called me, and I'll say, well, I don't have my cell phone with me. Why would I do that? And you're the same way. Well, here's my question. I am reading more and more stories about people texting while they're driving, talking on the cell phones while they're driving, being distracted while they're operating a motor vehicle, having all kinds of accidents, not paying attention. Is it possible that we have become addicted, and I don't use this in the casual sense, I mean literally addicted to the electromagnetic radiation from the phones? And here's why I'm saying this.
I don't think it's addicted to the electromagnetic. I think it's addicted to the dopamine of the thrill of being able to do it. Dopamine is one of the neurochemicals that is part of excitement. Mm-hmm. And people get, they just get hooked on their own dopamine. It's like some people who get into extreme jogging, like 10 miles a day or something, actually get hooked on their own beta endorphins with a little bit of dopamine as well. Mm-hmm. And there's something about, and I don't get it because I can't imagine going there. There's something about the idea of being able to just be in touch with everybody. Oh, come on, all the time. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's pathological anyway, and it's not quite as directly pathological as beating up a woman, but it is risky to society as well as to yourself.
The reason I ask, Dr. Shealy, is as we look at individuals we know, very few know people who would say, "Oh, I can't wait to get back to work. I'm on my lunch hour, and I'm so forward looking to being in my cubicle or at my desk or at my drill press or whatever we're doing." I can't believe that there are very many people who would be excited in today's work environment about going back to work. And in that line of thinking, so what would they be doing that is so important that they would be texting while driving? So obviously, it can't be work related. So it's got to be something else.
Well, who knows? I mean, I actually thoroughly enjoy working at my computer, mm-hmm. Only because I could get so much done so much faster. Mm-hmm. And so yesterday, for instance, I got the edited version from the publisher of my next book. And I have to admit, I sat for 2 hours rereading. It's been 6 months since it was submitted, rereading my book with great excitement because it seemed like fresh material. Mm-hmm. But it's better to be excited about doing something at work than not taking responsibility for anything.
Yes. And I spend a lot of time in front of my computers as well. And what I've found is I need to take a break. So after an hour or two, I will leave the computers. I will go outside, stretch my eyes, look, long distances because I'm focused on short distances with the computer monitors, different lighting. I'd like some natural lighting, hop on the tractor, do some things on the farm, get back, do some computer work, get back on the farm. And that's kind of what I do. So when we come back, I'd like to ask Dr. Shealy about the relationship between electromagnetic radiation, cell phones, microwave ovens, the wiring in your home, the wiring in your office, the fluorescent lights, and high blood pressure. When we come back, Dr. Norman Shealy. I'd like to apologize. Yesterday, I received non-stop phone calls after the broadcast until late in the evening. I mean, the phone did not stop ringing. Calls were stacked. And I take every call. And I call back everyone I can, literally. And I was unable to call several of you back yesterday because the phone just kept ringing and ringing and ringing. And we were talking about electromagnetic radiation and silent weapons. So as a result of that, I did not call many of you back. So I want to apologize. I will be available after the broadcast today to chat on the phone. So I just want to apologize for not getting back to many of you. Dr. Shealy's with us. And Dr. Shealy, I've noticed a rash of high blood pressure complaints. People are telling me, and it's obvious that they are suffering from high blood pressure. And so I'd like to talk with you about, I've got a document that says, some of the effects of microwave radiation frequencies and Wi-Fi and electromagnetic radiation is higher blood pressure. So we have electric motors, dishwashers, microwave ovens, power lines, computers where at home, cell phones, telephones, all kinds of electromagnetic devices that radiate frequencies that affect the body. Is there a tie to high blood pressure as a result of electromagnetic radiation?
The problem in today's society is that we have so many stressors, chemical, political, psychological, financial, that it's almost impossible to determine which is which. Stress causes high blood pressure, no question about it. Fear, anxiety, pain, all of those cause high blood pressure. There's also no question in my mind that certain electromagnetic frequencies, mostly 60 cycle, more than microwave, unless you're directly in a high intensity microwave, that 60 cycle activity is harmful to your brain. In other words, it can cause confusion, among other things. But with the average American consuming 45% of all of their food from fast food junk restaurants, and 60% of their food of the junk aisles in the grocery stores, that alone is more likely to be the cause of high blood pressure than the electromagnetics. You see, we don't live in a cave, unfortunately, sometimes, because a cave protects you a great deal from electromagnetic stuff in the atmosphere. The earth grounds it. So I don't know. I know that hypertension is rampant. Some people consider it the second cause of death because it increases the risk of stroke and heart attack. So it's a mixed bag. Let's face it. Personally, you couldn't pay me to live in a city, period, because the electromagnetic contamination everywhere is considerable. And I'm talking about a city as small as Springfield, which is only under 59,000 people. And so we know that is stressful. But we've known even before this got so bad, Vince, I'm talking about 40 years ago, the life expectancy of someone living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, was 7 years less than those living in rural Wisconsin. So just city living is a stressful thing. In rat studies, of course, the more crowded they are, the more stress illnesses they have. So really it is affecting the adrenal glands. It raises the cortisol level, and it weakens the immune system. So it's a multi-pronged thing. But in general, I think hypertension is more of the complete social political stress than it is just the electromagnetic waves.
I remember when I had a job that it's hard to remember that far. Hard to remember that far back, but back in the 1980s, when I last had a job, I remember that the stresses from my bosses were always present. So, as I was saying, just as we were going into the break, the last time I had a job where I was an employee was back in the 1980s. And Dr. Shealy, what my bosses had seemed to like to do was give me more tasks than I could possibly accomplish. I mean, they would just overload my plate. And then they would come by and say, Vinny, what are you doing on this and that and the other thing? And I go, well, hold it. Which one of these first things that you want done is really first? I've got 3 of them, and they're all top priority. Now, which one do you want me to work on? And they go, all of them. So they would just load on the pressure more and more and more. And, it can be unbearable. It can be unbearable to the point where some of us might say, I think I could have more fun doing something else and quit.
Of course, that is extremely important, Vince, and that's what I mean by the total life stress. However, during that break, I found a fascinating article on pulsed electromagnetic radiation from mobile phone on the levels of monoamine and neurotransmitter. Monoamine and neurotransmitter, that's dopamine, norepinephrine, epinephrine, serotonin, that kind of thing. And it's in the rat brain, but assume beyond any reasonable doubt that it's going to be similar in people.
Okay.
And so, significant, interesting, constant exposure, if you will, or, just to a mobile phone markedly decreases dopamine. Now, isn't that interesting? Maybe they're searching to get more dopamine instead of having it happen. But it increases norepinephrine, which is your primary stress response. And it increases serotonin, which also, of course, also has potential hypertensive effects. They didn't talk about that in this particular article. So let's face it, it's a mixed bag. We know that excessive electromagnetic exposure is not good for you.
Okay, I'm with you on that. I absolutely agree. And I can tell you, Dr. Shealy, I've said it many times, that when I used to work on computers, I would open one up and then the next up and the next up. And as the frequencies of these processors increased from 25 megahertz to 50 to 100 to 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 1,000 megahertz or a gigahertz, and then on up, the higher the frequency got until it reached a gigahertz, that the higher the frequency, the more effect it had on me, making me confused. And it seemed that the greater the number of computers I was working on at the same time, let's say up to 8 of them, I got to the point where I couldn't remember exactly what I had done on each one. I had to write myself notes and have notes of paper in front of each computer saying I did this step and then this step and then this step, because I couldn't remember. But prior to that, when the computers operated at a lower frequency, let's say 25 megahertz or 66 megahertz or even a couple hundred megahertz, I was fine. But as the frequency of the processors increased toward a gigahertz, that's when I started getting confused. Same number of computers, just higher frequency confused me. And I'm not kidding. It really had an impact on me to the point where I had to put these metal covers over the computers so that I could continue working on them. And I still had to write myself notes as to what I did. It's kind of like, I guess, maybe doing, surgery and forgetting forgetting where I was. It was not good. It really wasn't good. I mean, it certainly wasn't as important as surgery, but I had to really struggle to remember what I had done on each computer.
Well, you may remember, we've talked about this a long time ago, I think, that way back, probably in the mid-'90s, I did a study on the effects of just an electric clock. An electric clock, 6 inches away from the brain. That's just 60 cycles.
Right.
And it only puts out, 3 to 10 milligauss at the most. And in some people, 6 inches away from the head, that can produce a marked change in the electroencephalogram. Now, in people who are not depressed, it takes 50 milligauss of that particular frequency to disturb the electroencephalogram. But overall, I think what we could say beyond any doubt whatsoever is that these things do affect the brain, and everybody is an individual, so some people are going to be more negatively affected than others by the same stressor. Bottom line.
Yep. Dr. Shealy, and that clock that you're talking about, the one that you did your tests on, was probably a synchronous clock the motor manufactured by General Electric, because most of the clocks back then. Well, I'm not picking on.
You mean?
Yeah, they stopped sponsoring the show, Dr. Shealy. No, but seriously, I've taken many of those clock radios apart, many of the clocks apart, and they all had this General Electric brand, the ones that I looked at, a General Electric brand synchronous motor that operated on 60 cycle AC, very low power, about a quarter of a watt, if I'm not mistaken, possibly 1 watt, and had an electromagnetic coil in it. And the clock kept accurate time because it was based on the 60 cycle frequency from the power companies, and that 60 cycles is really precise and accurate. So that's why we use those synchronous clocks. But we kept them, on the clock radio next to us while we slept on our dressers. So those clocks were really, really close to us, and we also kept them close so we could turn off the alarm and just hit that button and turn off the alarm. So that's why we kept them so close. And you're absolutely right. They have been proven to cause disruptions in the way our body operates. No question about it. And Dr. Shealy, I want to tell you that I have, since you had said to me on air that I can just tell myself when I need to wake up in the morning, and I don't need an alarm clock. I have done that. And I will tell myself, as I'm going to bed, okay, I'm going to get up at a specific time. And I have been able to do that every single time without fail since you've mentioned that to me. And that's been a couple weeks.
Now, I'm delighted you tried it, and obviously I think it can happen to almost anybody. But also, Vince, look how easy it is to brainwash someone. And I don't mean this in a negative way for you by any means, but just my suggestion, letting you know it's possible, and you are obviously believing me and trying it. It worked.
It did work.
Think about the constant barrage of negative things that people get off television. Whether they like it or don't like it, they're getting hundreds of times more of that kind of information than you got in that brief discussion we had about this waking up on time.
You are. I'm so glad you mentioned that, Dr. Shealy, because obviously you don't watch television. Probably most of our instructors don't watch television, and so we are not subjected to that. As a matter of fact, I don't feel comfortable watching television. The increase in volume for the commercials, the nonstop barrage of inaccurate information, misleading information. 20 minutes of commercials per hour, and most people have to pay for the privilege of receiving all of those commercials. They've lost their minds.
One of the reasons I don't have cable TV, because it would be a waste of money for me anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I used to watch the Hitler Channel. Sometimes that's referred to as the History Channel. And when I used to watch it, it was nonstop Nazis. Not that it was bad, because they had really good coverage about some of the things that the Nazis did, and it was great lessons. But I used to call it the Hitler Channel. That was great, but more and more and more commercials appeared on that program. So I can't watch any of it. I haven't had satellite TV in a long time, really. And Dr. Shealy, it's become a babysitter. I've heard people say to me that, they need the background noise. Really? What about just maybe a light jackhammer in the background? Or what? What about what about the people? They build these tall fences along the highways to keep the background noise from the highway, the roaring diesel engines, the roar of the tires thumping down the highway. They try to keep that away because it's driving people mad. I don't think background noise is good. I really don't think so. I like it quiet.
Well, you're right. The only background sound that is really good is very, very soothing music. Mm-hmm. There's good evidence for that.
Well, I'm with you on that. And by the way, I believe that some of the things that I've read about music, I believe they're true, where you can actually increase your IQ by listening to classical type music. Do you buy that, Dr. Shealy?
Oh, absolutely, unequivocal. I did a study on music and its effect on, consciousness, brain, depression, and all those things back in 88, 89. Mm-hmm. And good music, and it doesn't have to be classical, but good classical music, and some of the, what I would call relaxation music that has been produced by wonderful people like Steve Halpern and Eosos today is very good for the electroencephalogram. It It actually increases beta endorphin, the natural feel-good narcotic, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So good music is good. And there are studies showing that good music played in the background while people are taking exams, they do better.
Dr. Shealy, I'd like to share something with you, and I want to be careful exactly how I share this. But let's say this. Let's say I was very closely involved in a study about a premature baby and the mother's voice, a soothing mother's voice, and the impact it had on a premature baby, months premature. When we come back, I'd like to share that story with you and get your thoughts on what I observed as the results. Dr. Norman Shealy, normshealy.com. We'll be right back. I do not have. Got it. Yeah, I never returned. I should be flying by the clock class, but sometimes I just fly by the audio, and I don't know if that's acceptable or not, but I do fly by the sound in the headphones, and I did not have the audio, so I didn't know we were coming back. But anyway, bottom line is, Dr. Shealy, I was involved in a test. There was a 3-month-old premature child. This was many years ago, and the mother of the child stayed in the hospital for the 3 months, slept there, slept in the hospital, taking care of this very, very young premature baby. And the baby would fuss. Now, we're talking about someone that was about 2 pounds at birth. And we found out that the baby would calm down when the baby heard his mother's voice, soothing voice. And so what we did was we got a 120-minute cassette tape, and the baby's mother read bedtime stories, very soothing stories, into the microphone of this tape recorder. And when the mother was asleep, if the baby fussed, the nurses would deploy the protocol of playing the tape of the mother reading these bedtime stories. And baby after baby after baby in the neonatal intensive care unit died. But this baby survived. And this baby did better and better every day because of the soothing sounds. And I'm liking this to the music that we were talking about. Dr. Shealy, do you have any thoughts on that?
I think it'd be both. After all, in utero, the baby was, while it was still in the mother's womb,
mm-hmm.
It was hearing that voice every day.
Yes.
And again, we know that if the pregnancy is a happy one,
mm-hmm.
the babies come out happier, healthier. And so even if something, does happen that causes a premature birth, having that influence of the mother's voice, and certainly calming music would be equally good, or perhaps almost equally good. But nothing can quite beat the constant awareness of that voice, which has been there since it was conceived.
Mm-hmm. So, Dr. Shealy, for those young mothers who are in about ready to give birth, maybe in several months, what would you recommend that they do to make that baby happier and ultimately healthier?
Oh, talk to it. I mean, literally, talk to it. The baby's brain is hearing and feeling that vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. Tell it it's welcome. Invite it from the beginning. See, that's why it's so important, from my point of view, to become pregnant when you really want to become pregnant, not as an accident.
Mm-hmm. What about, Dr. Shealy, we were talking about background noises. What about the commercials, the loud, brash, abrupt, shocking sounds of television in the background of homes where mothers are pregnant? What are your thoughts on that?
unbelievably bad, should be banned by the patient, if nobody else.
Well, the patient can ban it. That's as simple as hitting a button on a remote control, or turning a knob, or pushing a button physically on the TV, or at the most difficult, unplugging the TV.
Right.
So, Dr. Shealy, on the okay, so we're talking about turn off the TV as background noise with all these loud, abrupt sounds. But what about pleasant classical music? Would that be a positive on the other side of that equation?
Absolutely, unequivocal.
When we come back on the other side of this top of the hour news and commercials, I'd like to ask Dr. Shealy about an article that he wrote, Deadly Mouthwash, Poisonous Mouthwash. You can kill yourself with mouthwash. Dr. Shealy, can we talk about that when we come back? There you go. Deadly Mouthwash on the other side of the top of the hour news and break. Dr. Norman Shealy, 3 times PhD, medical doctor, surgeon of the year, author, broadcaster of 2.2 decades. We'll be right back.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked? This is hour number 2 of USAPrepares.com. Broadcasting with Dr. Norman Shealy, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. Dr. Norman Shealy is author of over 29 books, surgeon of the year, broadcaster for over 2.2 decades, probably 2.3, and he's absolutely brilliant, and we're delighted to have him with us on the broadcast classroom, USAPrepares.com. I just wanted to let you know that this weekend, a number of USAPrepares.com instructors are going to Indiana, where we are going to a rally at the Seven Sons Farm. Information is on the website, page 1, USAPrepares.com. John and Judy Dollarhite will be with us. Ken Hurley, USAPrepares.com instructor, will be there. There are several of others will be there from USAPrepares.com. And this is a rally to support Mark Baker. Now, Mark Baker is a farmer. He raises pigs, hogs, and he's being threatened by the Department of Natural Resources in Michigan. He's facing a $700,000 fine to begin with. It looks like it's up to $1.5 million, and they're coming after him hard and fast. They want him to kill his animals. They do not want, our government does not want small, non-factory farms. They want us out of business. And they're doing their best to shut him down. And we are going to expose them. And we're going to give out the names and the numbers of the individuals involved. Mark Baker's been on the air with us, and we're going to his rescue this weekend. So if you'd like to participate, and if you'd like to call the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, the information's there on the website. You may do that. Please do. So I just wanted to share with you that that's something that we're doing. Dr. Shealy's with us. And Dr. Shealy, you wrote an article about deadly mouthwash, toxic mouthwash. Can you share with us what that's all about?
Well, it fits in well with what you and I have been talking about for the last couple of years, nitric oxide. Because nitric oxide is produced in the mouth by the wonderful friendly bacteria that live there.
Right.
And alcoholic antiseptic mouthwash kills those kind bacteria. Wonderful article just last week. I sent out my newsletter as an urgent instantly after I read the article from New Zealand Dental Association president. It increases the incidence of mouth cancer. Theoretically, it also increases the incidence of heart disease, high blood pressure, and a few other illnesses because we need healthy bacteria in our mouth. The only need of your mouth to stay clean, if you will, from a bacterial point of view, is brushing your teeth at least twice a day and either flossing or using Dimidents. That's adequate, unless you've got really horrible health problems of other kinds. And so the antiseptic mouthwash that's killing those millions of bacteria, as they brag about, is harmful. Don't go near it. Fortunately, I never liked the stuff anyway, so I never used it.
Yeah, and we've been using those mouthwashes for years, Dr. Shealy. I'm not talking about you and me, but I mean society as a whole. We've been conditioned. Even in the 1970s, there were commercials about Listerine and other mouthwashes, Scope, and it will kill these bacteria. I mean, they showed the killing of the bacteria as if it's a good thing. Dr. Shealy, I want to share this with you. I did a bad thing over the weekend. What I did was, my mom likes Tootsie Roll Pops. And somehow she's able to convince our boys to buy them for her. So they'll go to Sam's Club and buy the large neighborhood size of these Tootsie Roll Pops. And I did a really bad thing. In a moment of weakness, I bit into a Tootsie Roll Pop. And that soft, chewy, gooey center lifted out one of my fillings. Now, that was probably...
Lucky it didn't lift out your tooth.
Well, lifting out one of my fillings was the good part. The bad part was the next bite down with that hard filling shattered one of my molars.
Oof.
So, I had a split tooth and a hole from where the amalgam filling was. And so Dr. Shayne, by the way, saw me on Sunday morning. So I got a chance to spend hours with Dr. Shayne, and he did survive. He did. But he replaced those the amalgam fillings with composite, okay? And here's where I'm going with this. I believe that I know I had this taste in my mouth for a couple years lately. It was kind of an electrolysis taste, a metallic taste. And I have a feeling I was poisoning myself because of these two fillings that were near each other, that were mercury amalgam fillings. And in the morning, I would have this metallic taste in my mouth from the saliva on those two fillings overnight. Does that sound reasonable to you?
Absolutely. You know, these things do slowly actually leach the mercury into your system. I had all of mine electively removed 32 years ago. And the other thing, by the way, worth mentioning, as we talked about the antiseptic mouthwash, is peroxide actually leaches more mercury out of your silver amalgam fillings. So it's toxic also.
Well, and that's exactly where I'm going with this line of thinking. So we have a Philips sonic ultrasonic type toothbrush or sonic type toothbrush, and I'm wondering if using standard toothpaste on brushing our teeth in a standard fashion, whether it be with fluoride or without, just standard type white toothpaste, brushing over those fillings would expose a brand new surface from which mercury can leach into our mouth every time we brush. Is that possible, Dr. Shealy?
Probable.
Okay. So brushing our teeth, while it being good generally, can expose a new surface to leach more mercury, toxic mercury, into our bodies.
Yes. My number 1, 2, and 3 recommendations for every human being was mercury fillings in their mouth, and all silver fillings are 50 to 60% mercury, is to have them taken out by a competent, real dentist who knows what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Shayne did that, and he used he has a system for a massive amount of evacuation. So
right.
That's what he did. And he had some additional devices that he could put in your mouth to protect your tongue and sides of your mouth from getting, splatter from the mercury that's being drilled out. I couldn't do that because it made me gag. But we did a lot of rinsing, and he spent hours on 2 fillings. He spent hours, literally hours, taking care of them. And here's what I wanted to report, Dr. Shealy. Since those 2 fillings have been removed over the weekend, replaced with a composite, white, looks like enamel fillings, I do not have that mercury or that metallic taste in my mouth. It is gone. It's gone. And the other thing I wanted to ask you about is those fillings that we have in our teeth, since they are metallic, since they are silver and mercury, and since they conduct electricity and heat, is it possible that we are additionally poisoning ourselves with our fillings because of the electromagnetic fields that are around us everywhere we go, especially when we put that cell phone right against our face? That cell phone, when we talk on it, it is literally touching our skin, which is just right in front of our jaw, which isn't where those fillings are. Now, is it possible that we are additionally losing the mercury in our mouth due to the electromagnetic radiation of the cell phone adjacent to and in contact with our faces?
It is certainly possible. That's certainly one to look into. There are numerous reports of people walking near radio stations and picking up the radio, hearing the radio while they're just walking by the radio station.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, these metallic fillings have great attraction, if you will, and amplification of at least radio waves.
Dr. Shealy, when I've met people who have been ham radio operators, and I've met engineers who work at radio stations. And by the way, the ones who have done it for a while have all died. And I'm wondering if the electromagnetic radiation, and they all died of cancer, I wonder if there is a very serious link between the electromagnetic radiation of what they've done to themselves by being adjacent to the transmitters, by working on the ham radio transmitters, by working on the antennas, has done this, increased the risk and incidence of these cancers.
Well, I think so. I took my little trifield meter in one day, and over there where the producer sits, it is just horribly high in electromagnetic contamination.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they ever let me back in there, I'll bring mine. Dr. Shealy, during the break, I was on the phone with Dylan Kahn. He's an investigative journalist for the Community Free Press in Springfield, Missouri. He's doing a special report on us, usaprepares.com, and who we are. He came to the meetup. He spent 3 hours with us on Monday, and he was telling me that he was really pleasantly surprised that we are as a group. We really understand what's going on. We're bright as a group. We're articulate as a group, and we're not wackos. So that, Dr. Shealy, we're going to be in the Community Free Press coming up, probably the next issue. Just wanted to share that with you. And
good housekeeping seal of approval.
Yeah, and so I think we have a new investigative reporter who is considering becoming one of us. Now, during the break, I also talked with Tom. Tom is our producer, and he has a question for you. He has a pinched nerve. Tom, go ahead, please.
Hi, Dr. Shealy.
Hello, Tom.
How are you today? Oh, how are you today?
Hello. I'm great. What's going on? Where's your pinched nerve?
I have a lower back pinched nerve. I think I damaged it when I was much younger, and every now and again, my right leg just feels like somebody Charlie horsed me in the right side of my leg, kind of in the buttocks area, and it just sends like a cramp straight down my entire leg to my ankle. And I usually think stretching will help, but the more I stretch, the more it tends to hurt. So I'm just wondering if there's...
Tom?
I am 26.
Okay, I thought you were very young. Here's what I would do. I would get myself a Roman chair. You can buy one for $90 online anymore.
Okay.
And I would practice stretching on that. You actually bend forward, and I call it a backup. But the most important thing is just to hang for a few minutes at a time. Secondly, you probably are deficient in magnesium. And so magnesium lotion could be a great help if you would just use it every day. Third, if within, a month or 6 weeks of doing the daily, preferably at least 5 days a week, hanging on the Roman chair doesn't make a big difference, I would see an osteopathic physician, a DO, who does manipulative therapy. Don't see a DO who doesn't do OMT. But you could well have a mild rotation of the sacrum,
Okay.
and that can be fixed in 30 seconds.
Huh. Awesome. Well, good to know. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, give us a feedback at some point.
Oh, I will. I've been looking into the Roman chair, and it's just a matter of finding space to put it.
Yeah, it's not very big. It's actually not much bigger than a chair.
Yeah, I'm using a studio apartment right now. So.
Got it. Okay.
But space is very tight. But yeah, I've been looking into that, and I'm very interested.
Dr. Shealy, I have a question about the Roman chair. In the meantime, if he has a sofa, would he be okay to just bend over the sofa stomach? I'm talking about like the back of the sofa, bend over that.
He would need someone to hold his legs. The most important thing is you need somebody to stabilize your ankles while you're bending forward so you don't fall and hit your head.
Okay. Oh, he might be able to do that.
But if he had somebody who would just come in for 5 or 10 minutes a day and hold his legs as he's bending over it, yeah, that could work.
Well, Tom, I have seen some photographs of Genesis Communications Network. It's a fabulous facility. There's probably a sofa there, and I'll bet you could probably get one of those lovely secretaries to hold your ankles.
Hey,
I'll see what I can do about that.
I bet they have space for the Roman chair somewhere. Everybody could use it.
They might. I might have to talk to the boss man about that.
Yeah. And tell him the prescription is being emailed in from Dr. Shealy.
All right, will do.
And Tom, magnesium lotion, I'd like to share with you my reaction to that, or my findings. Dr. Shealy has formulated a magnesium lotion so that the magnesium can enter your skin, and all you do is apply this. And he says that we're all deficient, or almost all of us are deficient in magnesium. It absolutely works. I'm not kidding. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. We will be right back. NormShealy.com. Dr. Shealy, I was talking with Tom during the break. He's our producer at Genesis, and I was mentioning that one of your favorite inventions, discoveries, and is the magnesium lotion, and that you have in the past described the difference between oral supplements containing magnesium and magnesium lotion. Can you discuss why you recommended and developed magnesium lotion over oral supplements, the difference in the results that you found?
Very important, Vince. What we found way back in the very late 80s, early 90s, is that 80% of people are deficient in magnesium. That leads to many, many, many problems. Every known illness practically is to some extent partially aggravated or created by not having enough magnesium. There's not enough magnesium in our soil. And although cattle farmers know that they have to give magnesium supplement to the cattle or they die of grass staggers, vegetable farmers don't do that.
Right.
And so our vegetable crops today don't have enough magnesium in them. Oral magnesium is absorbed in the distal colon. It's the only nutrient that I know that is not absorbed up in the small intestine practically, or the early upper part of the colon. And so if you have a gut transit time of less than 12 hours, you don't absorb it well. Secondly, many magnesium salts, and they come in various forms, are natural laxatives, so they speed up the gut transit time. Third, magnesium is suppressed in its absorption when there's too much calcium or fat at the same time. So all of those things interfere. If you're going to take an oral magnesium, the only one that is probably worth taking is magnesium taurate, Taurate. However, it takes 6 to 12 months to restore your magnesium levels taking that, whereas in 4 to 6 weeks, you can restore your intracellular levels with the magnesium lotion. And it's the cell levels, not the blood level of magnesium, that's important.
Okay, so Dr. Shealy, let me describe what I do, and I don't use very much, but I don't use the recommended amount that you recommend because for some reason I don't need that much, I think. But what I do is when I get out of the shower and I'm still damp, I put a small amount on one of my knees, and then I rub it into my knees and my calf, and then I take whatever's on my hand and I rub it into my other knee and calf, and then whatever's left, I add just a little bit of water and apply it to my chest. So for me, it's drops, but I believe you recommend like a teaspoonful. Is that about right? 2
teaspoons, actually, twice a day for most people.
Mm-hmm. And can you tell us the benefit to the heart, please?
Well, blood pressure, of course, is helped to be normal by having adequate magnesium. Blood rhythm is also helped. I would say conservatively 90% of people who have an abnormal heart rhythm, too fast, irregular, all those are deficient in magnesium. In fact, interesting, I saw a 64-year-old man this week who has a blood pressure and a pulse that are all over the place. His cardiologist has not measured his intracellular magnesium or his thyroid function, either one of which is probable cause of his problem. And so I sent off his intracellular magnesium test, and I'm looking forward to getting the results of that. And I'm hoping that he's low, because I'd like to send his cardiologist a note saying, "Hey, dear stupid, in the future, rather than spending $50,000 doing testing, just check the intracellular level of magnesium."
Dr. Shealy, do you have a lot of friends in the medical profession?
Friends, but they're not mostly doctors.
That's what I mean. In the medical profession, boy, I'll tell you, I was talking to a man last night, and he wants to have an event where we teach people about property rights. And he wants to work with some other property rights councils, and he wants to go along to get along. And so I was on the phone with him for like well over an hour, and I'm saying, Come on. We're not here to make friends. We're here to get the information out, and it's going to get some people frosted with us, but who cares? Let's just do it. And we're not in the business of making friends. And by the way, if we're worried about getting people involved in property rights, congresses, and activism, those that, if we're worried about not making enemies, then those are the people that are not with us, because they're not going to get off their butts and do the things that we need them to do. So bottom line is, Dr. Shealy, you say things that you believe are absolutely true. They are true. And unfortunately for you, unfortunately for me, doesn't make everybody happy.
Well, I consider that their problem, not mine.
Correct. Me too. And Dr. Shealy, I was telling Tom, he asked me about acupuncture, and he's been getting some advice from friends that have said, well, would you consider acupuncture? And I said, well, let's ask Dr. Shealy, because he's been involved in acupuncture for a very long time. Can you share your thoughts about acupuncture for his pinched nerve? Yes.
Acupuncture is a very, very valid potential treatment for his kind of problem, if you've got a trained acupuncturist. Sir William Osler, the father of American medicine, in his textbook of medicine as late as 1912, said the treatment of preference in lumbago, which is low back pain, is acupuncture. And he described how he did it with a, quote, bonnet needle. And a bonnet needle means a solid needle instead of a hollow needle. And he was putting it into a point called bladder 26, which is one of the big points for low back pain. And I like acupuncture, and it can be useful. There's another thing that is very excellent, and we haven't discussed this, but it's pulsed electromagnetic frequency. This has been around a long time, but it's been perfected in the last decade. And I honestly, at this point, think that especially for, well, even acute, but chronic pain, especially low back pain, but even fibromyalgia, that pulsed electromagnetic frequency, PEMF it's called, may be quicker and more and superior to acupuncture for this kind of thing. But you got to find someone who does it. It's cheaper too, by the way, much less expensive.
Now, are we talking about like a TENS type unit, TENS?
No, this
type?
is a very different unit. It puts, it actually is applied 3 minutes at a time to various positions. Usually 5 or 6 positions. It takes about 20 minutes for a sort of a total body treatment. Mm-hmm. And actually, with an acupuncture needle, for instance, or acupuncture treatment, I like to leave the needles in a minimum of 30 and up to 60 minutes. And so this is a much more powerful local stimulation than TENS. Now, TENS can be useful, depending upon the pain and, again, the application and how it's put on.
Okay. Dr. Shealy, you sent me an email about fluoride, one of our favorite topics, one of the things that gets us in the most trouble, at least in Springfield, Missouri. And the article is, I titled it Fluoride, the Slow Poison. We are poisoned, and we will never be the same again. And then I added Greg Burris, the city manager of Springfield, and his phone number, because we want him to pull fluoride out of the water, or we want him out of the equation as city manager. Dr. Shealy, fluoride, Parkinson's disease, calcification of the pineal gland. It's making us less creative, less motivated, more docile, lowering our IQs. I mean, this is like, when you look at what your article says, there aren't too many things that aren't radioactive that are worse than this.
No, it is a poison. It is a poison to the thyroid gland. It's a poison to your brain. It's important to your gut. But other than that, I don't know. It's not so bad.
We've got to get it out of our food supply, out of our water supply. Dr. Shealy, this is the most difficult thing to remedy, getting this out. The bribes that must have been paid must have been so great that you can say, look, here's the science. Here's the science. We are poisoning our children. We are weakening their teeth. We are ruining their ability to remember, to be creative. And yet it is impossible, or almost impossible, to get our governments, our local governments, to take it out of the water. And yet we are paying to be poisoned.
Well, we're paying because we are essentially being fined. We're not electively paying. We're being robbed.
Mm-hmm. Right. And in the Springfield community, the cost is $200,000 a year. Now, I know that's just a drop in the bucket in the scheme.
That's only $1 a person. What are you talking about?
That's exactly right. $1 a person. That's all it costs for us to be mass poisoned. Mass poisoned. And so, Dr. Shealy, are you absolutely certain that in your experience and your findings that there's no doubt that this is causing bodily harm?
Yes, I am unequivocally convinced, yes.
There you have it. Dr. Norman Shealy and I are convinced fluoride is toxic and poisonous. And there's a post on the website, usaprepares.com. It's not formatted as well as I'd like it to be because I was doing it while we're on the air. But please take a look, usaprepares.com, and you'll see the post about fluoride. Send it far and wide. We'll be right back. Class, we just heard a commercial where we heard a gentleman say, Daddy should have been better prepared. I know that voice. That was a person who was at the Get Prepared Expo in July in Lebanon, Missouri. And he was with the Freeze Try guy. He's with that organization. Daddy should have been better prepared. Great commercial. I love the commercial. By the way, Michelle, this is breaking news, Dr. Shealy. Michelle Obama, and this is the Weekly Standard, the title of their post says, Michelle Obama hypes Drink More Water plan. Now, this is Michelle Obama with her 22 attendants and assistants. Their office, Michelle Obama's office, with the 22 attendants and assistants, is proposing drink more water. Now, on the surface, that would sound really, really good. However, the water that most of us would be drinking would be fluoridated water. Yep. Dr. Shealy, if we drink more water with fluoride,
more poison,
what will that do to us?
Well, what else do you expect from someone like her? I'm being kind.
It's okay. This is Genesis. They let us speak our minds. So, Dr. Shealy, if we drink more water that contains fluoride, we'll be getting more fluoride poison. So our government is telling us, now they're not saying drink more fluoride. What they are saying is drink more water, but it has fluoride in it. Come on. Oh, man. And on the surface, it sounds like, she's not saying drink more soda. She's not saying drink more beer. She's or whiskey. She's saying drink more water. It sounds harmless. Except most of our municipal water is poisoned with fluoride. I just wanted to share that, Dr. Shealy. Some things that you have to read between the lines, Dr. Shealy, because the news is replete with misinformation. Your newsletter is available at normshealy.com. Class, I get the newsletter, and some of the things that we talk about are a direct result of Dr. Shealy's newsletter. And Dr. Shealy, you have a post, breaking limitations. that is, I posted that on our website. Can you tell us very quickly what that's all about? The Breaking Limitations seminar series. And
this is a webinar.
It's free, isn't it?
Yeah, it's free. This is a webinar with Eldon Taylor, who is one of the great, writers of today, and I'm going to be one of the people speaking in that particular webinar series.
Okay, I've got the post on the website, so class, if you'd like to see what this is all about, it's Breaking Limitations, Reaching Your Highest Goals and Beyond. I guess if you want to actually, can you actually be there in person?
Well, it's done on the phone. It's a webinar.
Okay, so it is free?
It is free. They offer all kinds of possibilities, but you don't have to buy them. You can just listen for free.
Okay. All right. So, class, if you'd like to learn more about that, the information is on the website, usaprepares.com. The title of the post is Breaking Limitations, Reaching Your Highest Goals and Beyond. And you can just join for free and listen in. And there it is. You are on October 21st. It says Norman Shealy, MD. That's you. Yep. So, class, if you're interested in that. Dr. Shealy, is there anything that you'd like to share with us in the closing minutes of today's broadcast?
Well, I think the number one thing is always to take care of yourself. Because if you do that, you can then help other people. If you don't do that, then you're a drag on everybody else. So number one part of being prepared is take care of yourself.
Yep. Yeah, you don't want to be a consumer, class. You don't want to be a consumer. Consumer is a four-letter word in my book. NormShealy.com. You can go to his website, NormShealy.com. Sign up for his free newsletter. I get it. No one else is going to get the information. It's not sold. It's not distributed. It's for your benefit. I subscribe. I suggest you consider doing the same. I'm Vincent Finelli. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you. Thank you so much for being with us, Dr. Shealy, and I'll be available to return all those phone calls in a minute.